you have points on the board. You can't turn it over in that situation.
They're saying to their guys, hey, fellas, we're the best in the league. We didn't play to it last week. We got to get back to that edge. Coach Parcells would always be able to boil things down to a few simple things that were really, really important. And if you didn't do those things well, you probably weren't going to have a good result. And if you did those things well, then usually things would work out okay.
And then we're in the middle of the game and, you're on the headsets being like, hey, let's just go back to the must.
At the end of the day, at the end of the week, it comes back to some basic things. You got to do those things well to win.
Welcome to Coach. I'm Matt Patricia, and this is Coach Bill Belichick. Coach, we're going to dive right into week one here and go to the tape. We saw a lot of things here.
Yeah, this is really some interesting plays this week. First, some of the ball security issues. Here's a fumbled snap where Atlanta mistimes the motion. It bounces off the tight end's leg, and Pittsburgh recovers. And these were big plays here that led to Pittsburgh winning the game with these turnovers.
Yeah, you can see here too. I mean, Atlanta's obviously at home, so that's your worst case scenario. Sometimes you see this when teams are on the road from that standpoint. But with that motion right there, the quarterback's trying to stop it, and the center winds up miscuing and snapping it, and it winds up being a turnover.
Yeah, another big turnover here in the Cincinnati game. Cincinnati's going in for a score here, and fumble a ball as they're crossing the goal line. Big turnover there. They lose by 6, so that's the kind of thing that costs you a ball game.
Yeah, certainly in the red area, you're going to put a big emphasis on making sure you secure that ball, clutch it with 2 hands if you have to. You have points on the board. You can't turn it over in that situation.
Same thing with Jacksonville. They're in the end zone. They're going to score here, be inside the 1. Holland punches it out, and Jacksonville loses another close game here. Poor ball security. So some of the ball security issues in the game really cost them. And, we talked last week with Jason Kelsey about the center position, and here's a good example right here. The tush push down there. This would have ended the game if the Eagles could have executed this, but the snap, comes out here low, never really gets up, and just kind of rolls back here. And so the Eagles have to fall on the ball, kick a field goal, and ultimately give Green Bay a chance to come back and win the game. So some sloppy ball handling, some quarterback, center, guard, tight end, miscommunications, ball on the ground, really, led to some problems here in week one.
Yeah, fundamentals, Coach. I know that's big emphasis for these guys that are coming into week 2, but nothing more important than the ball.
Well, this is definitely what the NFL is looking for with the kickoff return rule here in the Arizona-Buffalo game. Kickoff right down the middle, which most teams have been directionally kicking this when they have tried to cover it. But Buffalo kicks it down the middle, so it really forces the coverage unit for Buffalo to stay wide to defend both sides of the field. And then there's a seam and a couple of missed tackles, of course, and it's all over. So, again, poor tackling fundamentals. Instead of having the ball on a 35, 40-yard line, it goes for a 95-yard touchdown.
Yeah, week 2 you're going to see probably because of this play right here, a lot more teams just, trying to kick it out.
Yeah, just bang it away, right?
Don't want to deal with this.
No, that's exactly right.
But that's not a good picture right there, Coach.
Yeah, there's a lot of space right there.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, I think even you and I could make some yards on that. Not too many, but a few.
I might get a couple.
Yeah, but then the tackling really is an issue here. Buffalo's got 3 or 4 guys that could make the tackle and honestly don't really even come that close to doing it. So tackling fundamentals are something that I'm sure every defensive and special teams coach in the league is going to be working on this week to try to highlight that.
Yep, big play in that game too. Obviously points change.
Big momentum play. There were several of these plays in the game too. Plays where offensively you have a chance for a big play and overthrow a guy or underthrow a guy, miss them. You see Tennessee's got 2 guys behind the defense here against Chicago and throw the ball out of bounds, just can't make the play. Again, with better timing, a little better execution, hopefully some of these, will just, be big plays for the offense, not foul balls. But, when the ball lands, 3-4 yards out of bounds here, is obviously no chance to complete it.
Yeah, and again, another third down situation here where Indy gets a sack and then forces, another punt deal.
The Colts run a little twist here on the rush, and, this is, a big problem for the Texans on this play. take a big loss. And communication, we talked about the communication with the center, the quarterback, blitz pickup.
What's unique about the center position, similar to the quarterback position, is just by making a call, not anything else I do physically, just by making a call, I can make a difference in the play. And that's what I really love about the position.
One word tells everybody what to do, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you got to do multiple words, but yes, one word can be the difference of this play working and being set up right, and this play being a disaster and a tackle for loss.
Yeah.
And so here, you have 3 guys blocking 2 for the Texans over here, 2 guys blocking 2, and nobody on the defensive tackle right up the middle. So, another miscommunication here on the line of scrimmage. Again, that these teams have to work on their blitz pickup, their protections, their punt protection, their communication on defense, as well as their basic blocking, tackling, and running fundamentals, fumbling the ball going into the end zone. All these plays are really, I would say, pretty preventable with good execution, and that's what every team in the league is going to be working hard on this week, to improve their level of communication. But now we set up another 4th and long situation for the Texans, and here come the Colts with a scheme rush. When I say a scheme rush, they have 4 guys really outside. All 4 guys are really outside the widest guys, so it forces the inside players from the Texans to stretch all the way out there, and they don't get the outside man. There were quite a few long passes this week, particularly from Indianapolis, but here's one. Here's a post pattern by New Orleans, on Horn from Carolina, and big 60-yard touchdown there. It's a good job, good throw on the post route, good finish. So there were some explosive plays. I think defensively, maybe some things that they got to see more of in practice of long balls, shots, people trying to get behind the defense. You just can't let that happen. Just can't give up, give it all up on one play.
Yeah, definitely communication issues there between the middle of the field safety and the corner being on the same page, and that's what happens, big plays.
A lot of fundamentals that need to be worked on this week, and both individually and collectively as a team: punt protection, pass protection, secondary coverage, things like that.
Yeah, taking care of the ball, all those things I expect us to see, a lot of improvement this week.
You bet. Well, Matt, opening weekend wasn't a great passing weekend in the National Football League. We only had 2 300-yard passers. You can see from this chart here how much the passing game touchdowns declined over the last few years. And so we had the fewest number, 35, 37 last year, so definitely trending downward in the opening part of the season in terms of touchdown passes, yards, and so forth.
Yeah, you could really see in the pass game, just a lot of offenses kind of working on their timing here, still trying to get, the routes and the quarterback in rhythm, some missed throws, some miscues, some missed routes. I think we would have had bigger yardage if, some of those plays were kind of hit, but the quarterback ratings, they were, not that great because of that. We just had some miscues and some overthrows in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a combination of things. At times it was quarterback, times it was quarterback receiver, timing. There was some protection issues. We look at the quarterbacks from last year with passer ratings under 80. We see that only a couple of them, Bryce Young and Daniel Jones, are still starting quarterbacks in the National Football League. Dobbs, Howell, Tannehill, Garoppolo, Wilson, Mac Jones, all had low passer ratings, and none of them are starting. Almost is an indication that they're backup quarterbacks. So, that's not a good sign really when your passer rating is under 80.
Yeah, 8 guys last year, like you were talking about, under 80, 2 of the 8 starting quarterbacks, not really a great stat. But then if you look at, this past week of the quarterback rating, again, 8 more guys, but really the numbers are even lower.
Yeah, they are, and Jones and Young are still in that group at 44 and 32, so very low passer ratings. But, Brissett, Cousins, Caleb Williams, Levis, Watson, Bo Nix, some other guys in the 70s, a couple in the 50s, and a couple down in the 40s. So just the overall passing efficiency, again, the passing game is a combination, as we know, of things between the quarterback, the receiver, the protection, the play calling, obviously the defense, and all coming together. But I think just in general throughout the league, there are probably at least half the teams that really need to execute better in the passing game to win in the National Football. We know this is a passing league. The running game is important, but you've got to be able to throw the football.
Yeah, and I think, again, just more practice time as they go with the team and the guys that are out there with the quarterback, all of that rhythm will come into play. And, these numbers got to go up, and I expect them to.
Yeah, they will. Hopefully one number that will go down is the penalties.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of penalties in Week 1. So in Week 1 last year in 2003, a little over 15 penalties a game. This year in the opening week, that's up to 16 penalties a game. But during the regular season last year, it was under 14. So I think that some of those penalties are going to be cleaned up by execution, false starts, illegal motion, too many men on the field, things like that. There'll be fewer of those. And I think the officials will start to be hopefully a little bit more lenient in some of their calls. And the defenders and offensive players will keep their hands in better on offensive, defensive holding, illegal contact, things like that. So hopefully the penalty numbers will go down and the passing numbers will go up.
Yeah, and like you always say, I don't think fans aren't paying all that money to watch the flags be thrown during the game. They'll go down, but I think the big part of this is now the coaches have tape to go off and go back and show their teams, hey, let's control the ones we definitely can control. Let's control the pre-snap penalties.
Right.
Let's be smart about post-snap penalties. Understand during the play, we got to do a good job, with the technique and the fundamentals. But, the alignments, the false starts, all those things that we can control, I expect those to get better.
Yeah, as well as I do, Matt. If you can eliminate the pre-snap penalties and the post-snap penalties, you'll be one of the lower penalized teams in the league, and that's the idea, is don't give your opponent any extra chances or any free yards and stay out of long yardage yourself.
Yeah, really interesting first week. A lot of things there to kind of digest, and that coaches are going to go back and try to improve, and, we'll see what happens here week 2.
Yeah, this is a big week for every team to get better.
Coach, diving into week 2 here, big matchup. As we kind of looked at the schedule and we saw the teams coming out of week 1, 2 undefeated teams, 2 young quarterbacks. Really excited about the Houston Texans versus the Chicago Bears. What do you think?
Well, I think they just played a month ago in the Hall of Fame game in Canton. I think a lot of players that will be playing in this game on Sunday aren't the same ones that played in Canton. A lot of those guys aren't on the rosters anymore. A couple of them are, though. But it'll be interesting to see how things play out. This is a good matchup between 2 young teams, 2 young quarterbacks, and 2 good coaching staffs. So let's get to it.
Yeah, some good coaches. And the first thing we always do is we dive right into the must list, and I think that's where we start every week when we're looking at the teams. And we're going to start with the game plan must here for the Texans, Coach. And really, when you take a look at last week's game, I think one of the things that, the Texans offense did is they stayed very balanced. They really got their run game going. They were able to kind of throw the ball. And I think that they need to do that again this week against Chicago. Just maintain that balanced attack, lean on Mixon. He was great last week. He's obviously hopefully have another big week for them to win. But I think, again, that balanced offensive attack makes it so hard for the defense to handle. Second thing I think that they got to do on offense here is really get the ball to their go-to guys. They've got some great ones that can make some plays. You got Collins, you got Diggs, the quarterback for sure obviously can make some plays. I think that's really where they're going to do is focus on, making sure those guys have the ball in their hand. One of the things the Texans did a great job last week in Chicago, they'll have their work cut out for them, is just the time of possession. I think it was 40 minutes to 20 last week against Indianapolis, and certainly running the ball, being able to control passes, things like that. That time of possession, once you start to really control the game, you will limit the amount of snaps that your opponent gets in that situation. So that'll be big for, Houston to do again, is really, maintain that time of possession. And then really then, as we always talk about, take care of the football. So besides points, the number one stats, helping you win, take care of the ball. Don't force some plays because Chicago can turn it over, but take care of that ball, with the quarterback, starting with him, controlling it with the run game, getting to the skill guys, like we just saw a little bit from the review of last week, making sure that as you're going in to score, take care of the ball so that you can finish the drive. I think those are the 4 things that, really Houston's offense has to focus on this week.
Yeah, no question about it. We flip over to the other side of the ball, and we get to the Texans defense. Number 1, keep the quarterback in the pocket. Do not let Caleb extend plays. That's going to be very important there to, get on the receivers. Don't let him extend plays. Keep him in the pocket and make sure that he throws the ball on time. Make him throw over the line, and throw from inside the pocket, which means no big plays and no extended plays. This is most likely where those plays are going to come from, is if the quarterback gets outside the pocket and he can extend the play, whether he runs, whether he buys time, then throws it down the field. Williams had a couple chances last week against Tennessee to hit those big plays, and he just wasn't quite able to connect. I think that execution will be better in the game, and if the Texans give Williams those chances, then, that's going to be a problem. Tackling is going to be critical for the Texans, just critical. They got to do a good job of tackling the quarterback, tackling the receivers, not allowing any extra yards. When they get a chance to get them down, wrap them up and get them on the ground, and then red area defense. That really saved them last week, and that'll be very important down there. Keep Chicago out of the end zone defensively, hold them to field goals when they get down there. Red area defense is going to be very important in this game, too, keep the score down.
Yeah, and then, diving into special teams here, Coach, obviously the third phase of the game, we want to make sure we're talking about that. And, coming out of last week, we know, Frank Ross is going to be in there, and punt protection, Coach, it's going to be up on the board all week long. We know we're going to see those rushes again if you're, the Texans punt unit. So you're going to practice those. You're going to see some other looks. And, that'll be the number one thing. They have to make sure that punt protection is taken care of. And then, Coach, really, you can speak to this, but they were, number one here the last couple of years.
They sure were.
Regain that edge. They've been really dominant in special teams, helped their team win. And I know Frank and the coaching staff down there, they're going to want to get back to that.
Yeah, number one in the league in special teams the last 2 years, and they go out the first week and get a punt blocked. And Chicago blocked a punt against Tennessee in their game. So punt protection is going to be a big thing this week. But regaining the edge on special teams, I know the Texans are saying to their guys, hey, fellas, we're the best in the league. We didn't play to it last week. We got to get back to that edge. And that'll be a big challenge to Chicago. Look for the special teams matchup to be huge here. And we'll see whether or not the Texans can get back to control in that area of the game. Offense, defense, special teams. You can win 2 out of 3. You got a pretty good chance. So Texans have been good at winning special teams edge. If they can get it on offense or defense, that'll give them, that'll really put them in the driver's seat for the game.
Yeah, certainly, when we go through the must list, all three phases working together and all of those musts that they try to accomplish, that's what gives, that team the best chance to win in those situations. When we flip over to the other side of the ball here, Coach, and we start to take a look at Chicago and take a look at their offense, I think, again, biggest thing that we saw last week is just that pass game execution, trying to make sure that the timing routes, some of those receivers that were open, they hit those big plays, get that yardage that they didn't get, and, obviously keep growing that part of the offense. I think the other thing that they really got to try to do when you're playing Houston is control the game. They got to be able to run the ball. They can't let Houston have the ball for 40-plus minutes of the game. They've got to keep it themselves. That way that gives themselves a chance to, have that extra possession if they can. And the big thing for them is just staying on track, stay out of the third and long situations. Don't ask the young quarterback to go out there against a good defense and try to, always convert those third and long situations. Give them some third and shorts, maybe skip a couple third downs in there, stay on track from that situation. And then really just finish. They had some opportunities to score. Had one drop in the end zone, finish those drives, maybe hit some of those big plays. And I think that offense will look a lot better week 2 if they can do those 4 things as they get ready to play the Texans.
Yeah, I think the last thing you hit, Matt, it's obvious you got to score. You can't count on a block punt for a touchdown and a pick 6 for a touchdown every week. Bears got 14 points last week, not on offense. It'll be hard to count on that again this week. So offense has got to get down there and score some points and stay out of long yardage. And that means, first and second down, that controls what your yardage is on third down. If we flip it over to the Bears defense, number one, stop the run and get Houston off track. Get them into some long yardage situations. Don't let them control the ball for 40 minutes. Don't let them hang on and just stay comfortable in their offense. But stop the run and get them off track. Got to do a good job on Mixon, tackle him. Even if you play good run defense, tackling Mixon is still going to be a big issue. Get after the quarterback. Stroud's very elusive, can make plays with his legs, got a great arms, make some tough throws. Really got to do a good job on him. Get him uncomfortable. You don't want to give him a lot of time in the pocket. Obviously handling the 2 big receivers, Collins and Diggs, is key. And then keep turning the ball over. If the Bears get a couple opportunities to turn the ball over, they got to take advantage of them. They got to recover the fumble. They got to catch the interception. They got to make a tough catch. They got to find a way to turn the ball over and get their offense on a short field. I think it's going to be hard for the Bears offense, as you pointed out, just drive the ball 85 yards every time, convert 3 or 4 third downs, push it through the red area. They need a couple of short fields. This is what the Bears defense did last week for them against Tennessee, pick 6. Block punt on long yardage situation. They need a couple of these defensively to keep rolling.
Yeah, definitely. And against Houston, that offense was very efficient. And look, you're a defensive coordinator, Coach. You like to start the year, obviously, with turnovers. You love to start the year with a score, for sure. Get that one out of the way and go. But then again, the third element, like you mentioned, that Chicago did a great job with special teams. They changed the game there a little bit with some pressure.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll try to pressure the Texans punt unit, see if they got that straightened out. But really, to me, if I'm Coach Eberflus, I would say let's step up to the challenge. The Texans have been the #1 team on special teams for the last 2 years. All right, this is our chance to, if we can outcompete them in the kicking game, we can show we can play with anybody in the kicking game, and that'll be a big confidence boost for them as well. So I think this is a big challenge for the Bears and for Houston to bounce back from probably, I'd say, a little bit of a subpar performance from what they're used to. So I think that special teams match will be will be a big one in the game.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. And I think, Coach, we go through the must, and I think this is one of the, the great things that, we were able to do with our teams is start the week off, really establish the must for the game. What does each phase have to do to give us a chance to win? And then we're going to throw a lot of information at the players as we go through the week. We got first and second down. We got third down. We got red area. We got situational football. So it becomes this huge, amount of information that they're trying to digest through the week. And then you always did a great job of coming back at the end of the week and said, okay, look, I got all that. I understand we went through all that info. But don't forget about the must. Take that complex, boil it all the way down. Here's 4 things on offense. Here's 4 things on defense. Here's a couple things to do on special teams. And if we can do that, play a complementary football game, all 3 phases, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win. And, I just think that's the great part about the must list and the things that, we start early in the week talking about.
Yeah, Coach Parcells did a great job of that. Bill would always be able to boil things down to a few simple things that were really, really important. And if you didn't do those things well, you probably weren't going to have a good result. And if you did those things well, then usually things would work out okay. And so, during the week, players get told 1,000 things, all the different plays. And if they do this, you do that. If they do that, you do this. And if this guy does this, then you got to do that. We'll make this call over here. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, it comes back to some basic things. You got to do those things well to win. And that goes to the players as well, understanding who the go-to players are, the guys that we talk about on Tuesday, Matt, that we say we got a game plan for. We got to know how we're going to handle these guys.
Yeah, this is the conversation. It's Tuesday. The players are on their player day off. They're studying film on their own. But we're in there as a coaching staff, and we're saying, hey, who are the guys we need to be alert for? So if you take a look at the Tuesday players, that we got to get ready for this week for Chicago, we usually start with the quarterback. I mean, obviously, he's the main staple to the team and what they're doing. And, for Chicago, the Tuesday player we'd be talking about if we were Houston, number 1 is going to be Williams at the quarterback position. Young quarterback, first game last week in the NFL, maybe didn't play so great and really, they're going to try to improve this week. That would be the first guys. How are we going to, get after him defensively? What do we want to do to him? And then how do we build the game plan around that?
Yeah, and then obviously the 2 receivers, Allen and Moore, his 2 go-to guys, they're key. And then defensively, it's Handle and Sweat on the front. He's a very disruptive player. Edwards, makes a lot of plays for him. But really, I think the key guy for him is Matt Eberflus. It's got to do a good job there handling the scheme, all right, that the Chicago runs. Matt does a really good job of mixing it up. He does a good job with, making adjustments. And I think that overall, Texans have to do a good job of handling the Bears' scheme as well as their players. I think Coach Eberflus is a key player on this in terms of how this matchup goes. They don't line up in the same place every time. They don't do the same thing every time. They're very well coached. They have a good system. And, Houston's going to have to make some adjustments on each play, communication, within the play in terms of their assignments, and in situational football, they've got to be on their toes. So I think this is going to be a big challenge for the Texans on offense to go against a good coordinator, head coach like Eberflus.
Yeah, and you could see that last week in Game 1, his adjustments that he made and his presence as a veteran coach in the league for a long time that can handle a lot of things, see some different things, and that'll play into big with another young quarterback on the other side of the ball that he's got to defend. But I think you nailed it as far as that's concerned. That's a guy that we would talk about with our players.
Yeah, and I think Coach Eberflus is really definitely is talking about, number 1, handling C.J. Stroud. All right, I mean, Stroud can beat you in so many different ways. He can throw at all 3 levels. He's very athletic. He can extend plays. He can run. He's a tough guy and get into quarterback run. So, you got to do a good job on him. And then, of course, the 2 main receivers, Collins and Diggs. But Joe Mixon got it going last week. I thought he really did a good job against the Colts. And this is a guy that, that Chicago's got to stop. They can't let Mixon, run wild and create a lot of second and shorts and convert third downs and just keep their defense off track. They've got to do a good job on the running game so they can, get them in some long yardage situations and then take care of Stroud with the pass rush, all right, and make sure that you get these 2 good receivers.
Yeah, and one of the things I think Joe Mixon did a great job last week is he just brought an attitude to that run game. Like, he ran tough, he ran hard, he was looking for contact, which you love to see from a running back. And I think, the defensive guys, we love to see that too.
Yeah.
Running backs out there running hard. But, flip it over to the other side of the ball. I think, for Houston's defense, the two guys that you're talking about right away is the edge. The pass rush, Anderson obviously on one side, and the addition of Hunter on the other side. How is, Chicago going to handle that? A little bit of issues up front for Chicago protection-wise. I think these are two guys that could really, have a big day there as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, especially, Houston playing at home now, coming back home, crowd noise. This is going to be a big issue for the Bears' offensive line as well as the quarterback, mixing up the cadence to keep them off balance, that kind of thing. It's not something Williams has had a lot of experience with. But the big thing for Anderson and Hunter, I think, is going to be to keep Williams in the pocket, not run past the quarterback, get off on the ball, be disruptive, but, have some discipline and awareness. And then, Stingley's a top cover guy. I didn't think he had a great week last week against the Colts, and obviously the Colts hit him on some long passes. So, I think their secondary is going to get challenged here. And, it starts with Stingley. They need him to play well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Coach. And that'll be a guy that they'll lean on for some maybe more communication in the back end and just that overall leadership of, hey, let's get the pass defense settled down here in the back end, and he'll step to that challenge. Coach, there's so many times, we talk, Tuesday players, we talk must, all of those things, boil the game down. And then, we go out and practice all these different schemes. We got 100 plays on the offensive call sheet, way too many plays on the defensive call sheet. And then we're in the middle of the game and, you're on the headsets being like, hey, let's just go back to the must. Like, these are showing up again. Just, make sure we're stopping the run or get their go-to guys, their Tuesday players, just boiling it down. And that allows the players to go out there in game day, play fast, play aggressive, and, it'll be exciting to see how they handle these guys.
Yep, big matchup here. Let's go to the film and see what we got.
Coach, we're going to dive into the film here. I'm excited. This is kind of what we do. I got so excited I had to switch my chair out. I was too comfortable in that one. We got to get up on it and get after the film. So we're just going to go right to the film here. We're going to start with Houston's defense and kind of those must lists, those go-to guys, those Tuesday players we talked about. The things that, they need to do in order to give themselves a chance to win. You're going to have the outside zone play here by Indianapolis. Houston's run defense. They got to set the edge and, have a good line of scrimmage battle here and really be able to shut this run game down.
Yeah, setting the edge of the line of scrimmage, working downhill with the inside players, and then pursuit from the backside. It's a good job right there. Nowhere to run.
Houston's defense doing a good job keeping the quarterback in the pocket, getting after him in the passing game, sacking him, and obviously, critical plays here on third down situations. Chicago's going to have good tight coverage, good edge rush there. You can see keeping the quarterback in the pocket right there. I think that's the biggest thing we talk about with the mobile quarterbacks. Coach.
Yeah, this is really key right here is for the Texans to keep the quarterback from stepping up into those lanes. And the ends are doing a nice job here of getting to the level of the quarterback, being under control so they can come back in here. We know, look, there's nobody more dangerous than Richardson out there running around. A guy can run for forever for a touchdown. So he's more dangerous than anybody they're going to play against. If they can control him, then they can control anybody. But it takes a lot of discipline. All four guys, the two edge guys, the two inside guys. This is a great job right here by the Texans.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head. The hardest thing is to do that for the entire game.
Yep.
And again, Coach, the other must we talked about was turning the ball over. And, Houston's defense, you can see here, critical in the red area, big turnover for them, take some points off the board when Indy's already in field goal range.
Bullock does a nice job right here of reading the quarterback, seeing Richardson look down, into this general area of the field right here. He gets a nice break on the ball. It's a little bit overthrown, but, good break, good catch, big turnover down there, saves at least 3, maybe 7 points.
Yeah, so again, just trying to hit those musts with Houston's defense, doing a good job of stopping the run, keeping the quarterback in the pocket, and then obviously the turnovers. Coach, we also like to show the other side of it. Hey, if you don't do those things, this is what it can look like right here. And again, extended plays by the quarterback. I think this is one of the things that they can't allow Williams to do. Get outside the pocket here, like you saw the rush that you diagrammed earlier, Coach, where they kept him in. This time they let him out.
Yeah, this is really, nothing good's going to happen for the Texans here. They can't let this happen with Williams. If he gets outside the pocket, he can make the long throws, the short throws, and he can run with the ball. You really want to keep Caleb Williams in the pocket. Houston does a good job of it at times, but to your point, the key is going to be, can they do it consistently?
Yep, and you can see he does a good job of keeping his eyes downfield like Williams will do, and those big plays, they'll happen if Houston's defense doesn't stay disciplined in that situation. So when you flip it and you go over to Chicago's offense here, Coach, really I think one of the biggest things they're going to be talking about here is their run game. They've got to get the run game going. It's an example of Swift last week. This is one of their better runs when they can actually get him outside into open space, and you can see, the angles that they create.
Yeah, and big key for Houston, just not to let this get going. Keep them in second and long, third and long. But when they can just hand the ball off here, in this case, toss it, take the pressure off the quarterback. Don't make him, make the decisions in the passing game. Just hand the ball off, pick up 10, 12, 15 yards. Nothing gets easier than that. The quarterback loves that. That's his best friend.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, call that again, Coach. I like it. And then Swift, does a good job. He's jumping over the tackle there, a low tackle, and it's a big play run. And when Williams has the chance to extend plays here, Coach, you can see when he gets out of the pocket, his ability to make plays here on the boot.
Yeah, we saw him do this in preseason as well. When Caleb gets out of the pocket, he's got good, clear vision downfield. There's a lot of space there, and he can find these receivers, throw on the run. He's got a great arm, can make all the throws. The key for the Texans is really going to be to keep him in the pocket, not let him get out here and get on him as soon as he makes that play fake on these bootlegs and get up the field and get him.
Yeah, you want to get in his face as soon as you can and not let him, get that ball downfield. And I think, again, just as, Chicago's offense is going back saying, hey, what do we need to do this week? What do we do to be productive? He can throw the ball inside. Here's the slant route, the timing route. This is what they need to do. Give him a throwing lane right here. Allow him to set up, see the receiver come open, throw the ball on time. This is a 13-yard play. I think this is what they want from a production standpoint when he puts it on him.
Yeah, he's capable of zipping that ball into tight quarters and threading the needle here. For him, it's a low release. It's dealing with the pressure in front of him. I think Houston's really got to emphasize pushing the pocket, keeping him in the pocket, making him throw over top of the rush, and then that'll make it as hard as they can on. That'll make it very hard on Williams if they can do that. If not, then Williams is going to have an opportunity to make a lot of big plays down the field.
And I think this is a good example of, more plays they want. Use motion, use some formationing, allow the offense to out-leverage the defense here. They get the ball to Swift out in space on the two-point conversion. Good, throw and catch here by the quarterback and, just walk into the end zone. I think they like to get this as maybe a touchdown play as opposed to a two-point play, but try to get the ball across the end zone here as much as they can.
Yeah, it doesn't get it easier this. It looks like Swift got out to practice early. He's out there a half hour before everybody else. I don't know who's got him, but
yeah,
nobody.
A little bit of communication there on defense there for Tennessee. But, I think that's what Chicago will focus on offensively of how they want to kind of play the game. And then, Houston's defense is going to be looking at plays like this, like, all right, well, how do we stop them? What do we got to do? First thing is going to be the run game. And you got to start up front. I think Houston's front seven is going to take a look at Chicago's offensive line. Obviously some miscues here. They get the big defensive tackle swimming through on the guard who's trying to come down on them. Now you got penetration in the backfield. You're pulling off the puller there. You're picking him off. And you got a negative run. The running back's trying to bounce outside, which is never good. This is not where Chicago wants to be run game-wise.
No, this creates a long yardage situation. That's really going to be the key for Houston is to win on first down, get the second and long, get the third and long. If they give up those 4, 6, 7, 8-yard runs on first down and second and short, then Chicago's going to be able to control the ball, control the clock, and stay out of third and long.
And then I think the last thing here with Chicago's offense, certainly with a young quarterback here with Williams, one of the things you definitely look, sacks are going to happen. You're going to get some bad plays. Just, you don't want to retreat so far out of the pocket that, the ball's in here on the 25-yard line here. You're in a situation where, you got points. Okay, we've got penetration through the middle of the pocket. The offensive line, we talked about that for Chicago. They're struggling a little bit here with, pressure through the middle. But now you're coming out of this play fake, which is never easy for a quarterback when he's turning his back to the line of scrimmage. Come out, he's got a defensive tackle in his face. And now you just keep retreating backwards and backwards. And, you're losing 20 yards there. You're out of field goal range. It's second and real long. I think those are plays that they're going to try to, improve on here with the young quarterback.
Yeah, you don't want to keep going backwards. Some of those guys you ran away from in college, they're a lot faster in this league. So step up in the pocket, and if there's pressure up the middle, throw it away, take an incompletion. don't lose 20 yards.
We're going to flip it over to the other side here now. Look at the matchup the other way. Chicago's defense. We talked about Eberflus. It starts with him. And really, I think he did a good job here in the game against Tennessee with the run defense. They had a lot of really good plays in the run game, powered the back. We know he's a good back. But you can see the knockback at the line of scrimmage here. Some stunts, some movement, some pressure off the edge. Try to, disrupt the blocking angles here of the offensive line and get that penetration and really shut that run game down.
Yeah, line of scrimmage is the 20-yard line, and there's everybody from the Bears either on or across the 20-yard line, 19-yard line. So there's a lot of penetration, nowhere for the back to run, knocking blockers back, playing physical up front. I mean, that's a good-looking defensive play right there. No offense is going to get any yards here if they can't block, can't move the line of scrimmage.
And then again, I think Chicago's defense, getting after the quarterback. They had a bunch of sacks last week. Certainly big challenge for them with Houston and keeping Stroud in the pocket. But again, from a third down, second down, and medium situation, tight coverage allows the rush to get there in this situation. And again, as you're working in those fringe, you can see kind of some tight coverage matches downfield. Here, some pressure off the edge. Quarterback really can't throw it because everyone's just kind of, locked up there, pulls it back down. Now you've got one of the guys rush, in the middle of the pocket in the quarterback's face. They get him down with the good pursuit. And I think that's another thing you see is, Eberflus's defense, they do a great job of pursuing to the ball. Houston's offense is going to be watching some of these plays from the game the other day, as well as Houston did running the ball. This is a play I'm sure they're looking at saying, hey, we can run the ball. Not only can we run it, but when we do, we got a chance to score. You can see the blocking angles here. Tennessee does a good job of opening up that C gap there and really giving that lane for the running back to hit that 80% into the hole, 100% through the hole. And, that's a big play run.
Yep. Good looking play, and that'll be a big key for the Texans to get Mixon going. Get him downhill, and let him create some good positive yards in the running game. Stay at a long yardage and keep that defense on the field.
Yeah, and Stroud is going to be looking at some of these plays too, where the quarterback got out of the pocket last week against Chicago's defense, and again, these rush lanes when they're not disciplined. You see here, really, the guard cleaning out the pocket. Coach, you used to talk about it all the time. Clean the pocket, keep the middle free, whether it's the center, the guard. He really doesn't have anyone coming in his lane. Now he turns, he looks. He goes to open up the hole, gives the quarterback that lane to throw through. And in this situation here, look, there's tight coverage downfield. No one really in the middle of the field. The quarterback takes off. It's 3rd and 12 in this situation. And, the quarterback's running, trying to get it maybe into a 4th down, go for it, or field goal range, something like that. I think Stroud looks at those plays and thinks, hey, I can make some of those plays versus bad pass rush. If, in this situation, Chicago's pass rush isn't disciplined, you see the same thing. There's some edge rush coming here. There's some inside moves. The quarterback's in trouble. But really, great job by the quarterback. Stroud gets out. He's running. I mean, this is a 3rd down, gains 13 yards on 3rd and 14. Obviously, this, crushes the defense when this happens, puts them in field goal range or across midfield from that situation. But again, just the quarterback making plays. Certainly Chicago's defense is looking at this saying, hey, we can't allow this guy to do that.
Yeah, nobody open here. Good coverage downfield, but it doesn't matter. If you don't contain the quarterback, then he ends up picking up first down anyway. So combination of rush and coverage for pass defense is what you got to have, and one without the other, it's not going to work.
Yeah, we say all the time, the marriage of rush and coverage, the marriage of, that's a whole relationship,
Yes.
As we know in the meeting rooms for sure. And then again, just more Houston's offense, some things that they were able to do with Collins last week, and then taking a look at Chicago's pass defense with some opportunities that, maybe Houston sees, but just the downfield throws, the speed out there, running through the coverage, getting downfield. Great throw here by Stroud, and we got a big play.
Yeah, he'll go up and get the ball. Really an aggressive receiver. Collins has turned out to be an outstanding player, uses size, length, and excellent catch skills, but, he's aggressive. Goes up, takes the ball away from 2 guys, makes a tough catch. Big play.
Really, this is where Diggs showed up for their offense. A couple touchdowns for him, and good throw and catch here, good underneath route, good setup by the quarterback, sees him, good protection, hits him in stride, which now gives him the chance, to run after catch here, put his pads down and cross the end zone there and score in this situation.
Yeah, good ball security by Diggs, getting the ball in the end zone, different than what we saw in Jacksonville and Cincinnati. Nice job here finishing the play. Good route, and it's a good job by Stroud getting the ball out of his hands and finding one of his 2 go-to guys.
That connection between Stroud, Collins, you can see it building throughout this game. Expected to take another step forward here this week. Great throw, great catch, really puts it. DB's in great position right there, Coach. That's hard to take as a defensive coach, but, give credit to the offensive players here. They made a great play.
Yeah, tremendous throw, tough catch on the sideline against tight coverage. McCorner's all over this, and Stroud gets it in there. So, these are kind of plays you need from your quarterback. If you're going to have a top quarterback and be a playoff team and win playoff games, that kind of thing, your quarterback's got to make these kind of plays. This is a big one.
Coach, loving getting back in here, getting after it, talking about, the games from the previous week and then getting ready for week 2 here. Big matchup, Chicago, Houston. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it, and we'll see everybody next week.